Alright, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all well. Star Wars, right? Star Wars has a very storied history under Disney of, I guess, disregarding fandom to some degree. Obviously, more recently with The Last Jedi and then off into The Rise of Skywalker, which in my head are almost interchangeable nowadays because they're just appalling. But with respect to Star Wars and how they're moving forwards with The Mandalorian, it seems that everything is shifting. We've started to see this, actually happen before our very eyes, right? The Mandalorian, they started to listen, they were replicating things. They just seem to be very receptive to fans, which is great. And I do think, obviously, that we shouldn't always be listening to fans, not, clear cut if it goes against things massively. Not everyone's voice is the right one, but obviously with respect to how they've been handling Star Wars and things like that, they could have listened to the fans, and it seems like they are. Now, what we're going to be looking at today is obviously the history of the backlash and how directors and head honchos at Disney Star Wars have just been disregarding people. And it's not even disregarding people, but it's disregarding like the core fandom, right? The core fandom in favor of signaling off and trying to get a consumer base, a customer base with people that are not customers, they're not consumers. It's that sort of agenda political side of it, the people that don't actually consume media, which always baffles me. I never understand why that seems to be the move that studios are doing now. They're not consumers, and yet they are the ones which we're trying to appeal to, like, at all times. It seems utterly bizarre. But we're going to dive into that today. Before we do, just want to let you know I am making a film and I am crowdfunding for it. We've hit like a lot of the stretch targets. I've never pushed it up. Well, I haven't pushed it up now. I kind of stopped. But obviously, every little helps. We're still crowdfunding for it, and you can still enter into the competition to win a massively awesome ornamental prop that will be signed by me, writer and director, and also the cast. So check it out. It's linked down below, and it would mean the world to me as well if you contribute to something which you'll inevitably enjoy, which should be released on YouTube. So anyway, let's dive into this. Right now, this article will be linked down below. And this article is really good. Like, it is genuinely good. It just lists everything in like a really well thought out linear pattern. So we'll go through it bit by bit. Now, the Mandalorian creator Jon Favreau recently signaled that Lucasfilm will take a new attitude towards Star Wars fans, right? And that's what we're talking about. That's everything shifting, everything changing. And that, I think that's, it's not surprising because they have had a steady decline of finances, right? The money coming back in for Star Wars. Even the merchandise sales have been going down. Obviously not now with The Mandalorian, things are going back up. But obviously there was a tipping point. Things were going down to the point where they could obviously be concerned and say, well, actually, hang on. We paid like $4 billion, I think it was, for Star Wars. We've spent this much money, we've only got this much back. We should probably do something. This is not a winning formula. So it makes sense. Now, following the release of The Last Jedi, a film that fractured the Star Wars fandom, receiving a 43% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, Lucasfilm and its employees took a very antagonistic approach to fans. And it was all down to this one dude, Rian Johnson, or Rian Johnson. Basically, director Rian Johnson led the way describing Star Wars fans as Manbabies after the film failed to resonate with fans. And Johnson took to Twitter back in June 2018, writing, "What we talk about when we talk about Manbabies." Now, I think what was fascinating about that one, and I did it with The Rise of Skywalker as well, was I watched those movies at midnight. So it was like the first screening possible with all the fans, all the people that are dressed up. I'm sat there in like a t-shirt and shorts looking like a pleb. By comparison to these other people that would generally speaking look like plebs. But their response was not positive. It was a very... I always find that, especially for movies that I personally think I'm going to hate, always watch with the fans, because you're immersing yourself in an experience that should actually sway your bias to one side. Like, obviously, as a movie reviewer, you don't want to go in with a really strong negative bias. You still want to absorb the film in a positive way, or at least neutral way anyway. But those experiences weren't like that. The fans that were there anyway, no, not so much. But this continued, right? And obviously this was the tipping point, and it just continued and continued. You know, the director would then clarify in later tweets that he was only talking about a small minority of Star Wars fans. You know, on social media, a few unhealthy people can cast a big shadow on the wall, but over the past 4 years, I've met lots of real fellow Star Wars fans, of course, because the ones that dislike it are definitely not real. We like and dislike stuff, but we do it with humour, love and respect, says the man calling people Manbabies. And the vast majority, we're having fun and doing just fine. Now, done with this disingenuous bullshit, you know, the difference between not liking a movie and hatefully harassing women, this has been debunked anyway. I'm fairly certain it's been debunked as to why she actually went off social media. He's talking about Kelly Marie Tran. And then he just went off on one saying, you know, he's been berated and things like this, and he's going to, you know, block people, whilst also, you know, calling people names and stuff like that. I mean, someone just saying you ruined Star Wars, it doesn't really... I mean, I don't know, because they may have been multiple interactions with this individual, but then obviously, you know, dragging your drooly little man baby butt across the Wheel of Fortune Answers account back to the swamp, you're free, blocked. I mean, it's very antagonistic, you know. And the thing is, as well, you're giving everyone what they want. Like, people want you to respond. I've started blocking assholes, and it feels so good. And again, like, it's really, I don't know, it was really childish behaviour. But then it would continue, right? So in 2018, Johnson would then describe fans who disliked The Last Jedi as participating in violent harassment campaigns. I mean, that's clearly disingenuous. I'm always amazed how few people know about Gamergate. It's not only the key to understanding so many violent harassment campaigns going on today, it's lots of the same people angry about the same stuff, using the same playbook. I mean, if that's the case, it's just simply fans not wanting, you know, the thing which they've invested in to be utterly destroyed. I mean, if that's the case, then that's all that is, isn't it? I don't see anything wrong with that. Especially when they are the ones which you should be catering to. I mean, they made you wealthy, right? Like, especially these companies, you know? Without them, George Lucas wouldn't have the wealth that he has, and without them, Disney wouldn't have had to pay $4 billion for Star Wars at the end of the day. So, and they're clearly right as well. They are clearly the one, like, well, not even the irony, but the funny reality of the situation is that after all of this, after all of these comments, all of this non-stop talking crap that people have done, they are still changing, and they are still catering to these people now, finally, because they've realised that they need to. So it's all well and good saying, well, yeah, it's Gamergate, and it's this, and it's that, and, you know, they shouldn't be doing it, they're Manbabies. It's like, yeah, okay, but clearly we were right. Clearly you should be catering to these people, the fans, because they are now catering to them, you know? And then he'd obviously suggest it's Russian bots. It's got to be Russian bots. Did that recently with The Last of Us Part 2. I'll leave that video linked above. What an absolute joke. And then J.J. Abrams would jump in as well, right? So, you know, he would say their problem isn't Star Wars, their problem is being threatened. What, by bad stories? Please. Seriously? And he'd go, you know, Star Wars is a big galaxy and you can sort of find almost anything you want to in Star Wars. If you're someone who feels threatened by women and needs to lash out against them, you can probably find an enemy in Star Wars. But that's simply not the case. Like, everyone liked Leia, come on. We just like actually well-written characters. You can probably look at the first movie that George Lucas did, Star Wars A New Hope, and say that Leia was too outspoken or she was too tough. Anyone who wants to find a problem with anything can find the problem. The internet seems to be made for that. Completely disagree, though. I mean, you're talking about fans. So if they didn't mind Leia, then clearly they're not threatened by women, are they? You know, at the end of the day. And it would just continue, you know, utter nonsense. You know, I will say that the story of Rey, Poe, and Finn and Kylo Ren, and if you look, there are 3 men and 1 woman. To those that are complaining that there are too many women in Star Wars, that was never the complaint. It's just such a joke. And it would go on, you know, even Chuck Wendig would get involved. Their names change, MRA, Incel, Gamergate, Comicsgate, Sad Puppies, real Star Wars fans. But at the heart of it is the same fragile rage born of the poisonous chemical combination of... Here we go. White supremacy and toxic masculinity. Where do these fucking dickheads get off saying this? Seriously? Like, it's Chuck Wendig, you utter ballbag. It's got to be. Of course it is. White supremacist. Yeah, absolutely. Fuck you off. Such nonsense. And it would go even further, you know, since I follow mostly political policy journalism folks, I'm late to the various fandom controversies caught wind of the latest in Star Wars fandom. Let me share brief comments. And, again, it's all the same nonsense. It's all the same nonsense. No one has an issue with... no one has an issue with social justice or at least social agendas by and large as a concept, right? No one has an issue with that. No one feels, again, unless you are genuinely a bigot, no one feels that homosexuals, gays, whatever you want to call them, should be persecuted. No one feels that, black people should never appear in Star Wars. No one feels any of these things unless you are actually a bigot. The term social justice warrior is made up when it's ham-fistedly rammed down your throat as if you're being, played like a puppet, like you're part of the Muppets or something like that. That's what people have an issue with, and that's why the term is different. That's why it's called social justice warrior, because you're just charging this crusade that, like, literally everyone accepts and goes, yeah, that's fine. Like, Nate, you're not really going to meet many people that just go, oh, no, definitely shouldn't have black people in Star Wars. Definitely shouldn't have that. Like, come on, behave. Now, that's not the argument that people make. The argument is you're just ramming it down people's throats in a really distasteful manner. And that's why there's a difference there. But anyway, Jon Favreau has come out now and spoke with a Hollywood Reporter. And it's really good. So he says, you put something out into the world and then it echoes back at you. You have to listen. It's not a one-way street. It is a two-way street. You have to feel the energy of the audience. And he says, but when you come from comedy and when I was doing improv back in Chicago, that's it. You have to read the room. You have to feel the room. You have to be in community with the audience. You have to be part of it. The fact of the matter is, as much as we love working on Star Wars, we love even more making Star Wars for other people. And when other people are excited by it, dig what we're doing, and are appreciative, that's as good as it gets for us. That's perfect. Like, that's it, isn't it? Surely. Again, to go back to my own film, right? Like, I'm making this film. It's everything that I love. But I know that people gravitate towards my channel because I love the things that they love. So I know if I stay true to what I want to do, by and large, hopefully if it gets all put on film in the way that I want it to do, hopefully you guys will love it as well. And there's nothing better than that. The thought of producing something that people are not going to enjoy is sickening. Like, I don't want to do that. So surely that's the same, or should be the same anyway, and it seems to be with Jon Favreau. And again, all these other comments that people have made about women and stuff like that. No one looked at Gina Carano and was like, definitely, 100% SJW, whatever. No, you looked at her and you went, well, she's an ex-wrestler or whatever it is. She's an absolute beast. She could definitely beat my ass into oblivion. Like, no one was looking at her going, definitely, yeah, 100% strong female, we hate that. People will go, no, she's a strong female. Like, of course she is. So again, it's how it's portrayed, it's how it's executed, and this kind of gaslighting effect that people do all the time, it's just fucking trash. It's garbage. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. I think this is positive anyway, but let me know down below. If you are new here, do hit subscribe. Stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news by hitting the bell notification icon. Thank you all so much. I have been Mr. H. Take care.